All right, hey, welcome. It's Chris Petrie. Thanks so much for coming by. We're going to have a wonderful time here painting this beautiful scene along the ocean. We're going to have some poinsettias, some orangey red poinsettias along the ocean. And we have a beautiful partition wall here, a property wall with a pier and some shadowing, some grays here, some stucco walls. We're going to have that beautiful sky wash. You'll see how we do everything here on this video from soup to nuts. We're going to have the whole enchilada covered. We're going to have the pencil sketch completed. We're going to show you how to get your space divisions in your painting all set up so that when you're starting out you won't be kind of having a struggle with how large you're going to make your wall and how large you're going to make your sky. We're going to explain to you how you divide up your entire painting into sections. We'll cover the pencil sketching as you need. We're going to cover the color scheme, which is blue-green with highlights of red-orange. This is, again, an inspired painting by Winslow Homer, one of the greatest all-time watercolor painters in history. So we're not going to be, we're not going to be at a loss for great content here on this video. We're going to have tons of great information. We're using as our we're going to use our cell phone here, which will be on camera at all times for our photograph to use. We're also going to have our palette right over here to the left at all times. So you're going to see your palette at all times with all the colors being mixed, the painting, the drawing, the painting, and as well as this photograph, which we're going to have on camera at all times. So you'll see the whole entire ensemble of what we're using to create this painting. You're going to have a fun time. You're going to enjoy it, and we'll see you in just a second as we get started, okay? Be right back. All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here, and we're getting back to painting, and we're actually going to kind of get interested in a little bit of the great masters of old. Winslow Homer was one of our great guides for watercolor painting. He was a great watercolor painter. He's one of the great masters, back in history. And so I often look at his paintings and just I'm amazed at how phenomenal his paintings looked. So what we'll do is we'll just do a quick excerpt of one of his paintings. And I have it here on my cell phone. And I was wondering, I just wanted to ask a question from the start with, does anyone know if he had liquid frisket at that time or any kind of like Scotch tape or anything? Because I'm looking at some of these flowers that he has that are in the dark parts of the painting, and they look really, I guess he somehow painted around those areas and then put in the orange paint or the reddish orange paint in there. So I don't think there was anything like liquid frisket back in the day. Maybe there was. You know, some of you out there, I know you're probably like history buffs and you probably know a lot about art history and maybe a lot of historical facts about the great master painters of old. So, if anyone, please, put in the comment section if you've ever heard that there's maybe like in Winslow Homer's time, did he have like masking fluids or anything like that he might use in his techniques? But I could see he did get some really beautiful reds and oranges here for these few flowers in the dark areas. And I'm thinking he might have just painted around that area with the darks and then went over it with that's how we're going to do it actually. But yeah, just, I'm just interested. Maybe someone might know if some of the techniques they used, they maybe had tape or something like that they could use to kind of like mask off areas while they were painting and so forth. But that he only had a few little small red bits of flowers here. And these are, I think, these are poinsettia flowers. He only has a few of them here in the dark areas. So what I'm thinking is whatever he was doing here to get these beautiful transparent reds and oranges for these poinsettias in those dark areas, because you could imagine that's something we're going to want to key in on as we go. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. Let's get started. All right, so we kind of see the painting here. I have my cell phone, and I often work from my cell phone, photos from my cell phone. And we're just going to look at this painting and sort of, let's get started with the breakdown of the composition itself. So I'm going to look at this and say, well, this is like a partition wall, like a maybe like a partition wall along the property here, along the ocean. I know this is along the water, along the ocean. Winslow Homer loved to paint along the ocean, especially in New Jersey, and I'm from New Jersey, so I take a real, excitement in knowing that Winslow Homer painted in the New Jersey shore areas, and I've been to some of those areas that he painted into, and painted myself. So I really, it's kind of exciting for me. But anyway, let's look at this here. I think it's about a third. We could look at this as thirds. 1/3 up is this wall. So this is kind of like a partition wall that might be around a property, and then over here there's maybe like a gate you can walk through, and that's maybe about a third. I would say 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So if we look at it as like a recipe, let's say, I like to cook too as well, so sometimes I'll make some meals or do some cooking, and I 1/3 cup, 2/3 cup, 3/3 cups, or quarter cup, half cup, 3/4 cup, 1 cup. We'll just kind of look at it that way. So this would be 1/3 of the cup up like this, about a third of the cup, and then here's the second third, 2/3, and this is the top, the 1 cup area. So we'll just kind of look at it that way. Those of you that might not cook, or do things in the kitchen, you might not be you have your talents other places, and you might not cook or anything like that, or bake. But I tend to look at it as like baking or cooking, especially cooking. I really don't bake too much, but I do cook. And so you got 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, so approximately a third. And then you can measure it too. You can take a ruler, and I have a lot of different rulers I have over the years collected. I've been painting watercolors for like 15, 20 years now. So I have some rulers built up in my collection. So this one here is a T-square ruler. So if I just set my T-square ruler onto my paper, and if I'm using like let's say 1 inch, if we use centimeters, sometimes I use either the metric or the standard measurements, but 21 works out perfect. So 7, I actually have it pretty much really, I was able to like eyeball it and kind of guess at it, and it looks like I did get the first section here correct. 7 inches is the third. Okay, 14 is a little bit high here, but that's about 14, and then 21. So I have it pretty good on the thirds here. So 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So the first third is the wall. So we'll just start out, and I'm really glad you're here painting with me and drawing and painting with me in watercolor. And again, I'm really so thankful that everyone comes, and joins along on my channel. I have so much fun here just creating paintings, because I know I'm really working along with everyone here that's on my channel. And I know I'm out there I'm thinking to myself as I'm painting, they're out there, you're out there, and I'm like kind of with you in a sense, spiritually, working with you, and I'm hoping I'm conveying what I'm trying to do here on my painting, and I'm hoping it kind of translates into what you're doing too, so that you're able to see it clearly and be able to work and complete your watercolor paintings successfully, as I'm trying to do the same myself. So really that's all it's about. We're having fun here all together. So I'm using a number 2 office pencil, HB2, a soft pencil, and this is a standard like office or school pencil. So again, we had the third here. We said the 1/3 is this wall. So we'll just go across here, and I'll just do a quick line across here. I might go a little bit lighter with a preliminary drawing first, and then go over with a darker pencil line, but it's really hard for you to see my really light pencil line, so I'll just go with a dark line to start with, and hopefully I can draw this well the first time I go across here with my darker pencil line. So I'm going across with a level line like this. You could always take a ruler too and measure up and say, okay, this is 7 centimeters up, or for the standard it's 3 inches up. So 3 inches up, or about 7 centimeters up, is your first line for your wall, and then you just try to go across level. So if you wanted to, you could always just take another hash mark over here and say, okay, 7 centimeters is there, or about 3 inches. Make a mark, and this way when you're going across, you have another mark to kind of like aim for. So over here, and then bam, you got it right there. And then you have a little bit of an up vertical line here, which is like the pier. So there's a pier at the end of this wall. There's like a pier, and then there's a top to that pier. But right now we'll get this part of the pier like that. And then we can go straight down, or you can even take your, again, a ruler and just kind of look at it and say, okay, let me set my ruler on my paper. And just kind of set up your ruler like you don't want, you know, you can kind of see as you set up your ruler onto your paper, you don't want it to be on an angle like this or like this. This line here of the pier is plumb. It's straight. It's vertical. So it's a straight vertical line. We don't want it on an angle either way. So you just look at your ruler and you say, how does that look? Does that look pretty straight? Yes, that looks pretty straight. So you can kind of see yourself. You automatically know a lot of times as an artist, when you come into painting watercolors, and if it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming by. And you might be starting out and saying, whoa, all this information at one time. Don't worry about it. If you're just starting out in watercolor, all it is you just learn as you go. You just learn as you go. Just absorb everything like a sponge. Everything I'm talking about, everything, you know, some of the stuff you might not understand right away, no problem. Just absorb everything that you can. And actually, when you watch these videos, when you watch my videos, a lot of the things that you're gonna hear us talk about here as we're working, they're gonna go into your mind actually, and you'll remember them at a later time, and it'll just click for you. So don't feel like, you know, you have to like jot down notes or everything like that. You might want to jot down notes, that's fine. You can do that too, but remember, when you're hearing things and seeing things, you're gonna just kind of like, it'll be in the back of your mind and you'll kind of remember it, and it'll kind of be, you know, kind of stowed away a little bit, so to speak. So no worries. Okay, so we have that level line coming across the top of the wall, and that's a partition wall here. And then we have the pier over here on the left side, so we have that here. And then we notice that there is a three-dimensional quality to this pier. So we will take our ruler and we look at this and we say from here to here is a little bit, maybe a little bit longer of a line than here. So if we looked at this and we said, all right, let's go halfway and make a little tiny dot halfway, we're going to go a little bit past halfway for our line over here. So we'll go a little bit past halfway, and we'll make our line there for the pier. And we can make a little bit of a light line there, but we will make a darker line here, so you can kind of see how we have this working. And then we have a cap to our pier. So this is kind of like the beginning. Don't worry about it. You saw the finished painting to start with here on the video, so you see how beautiful the finished painting looks. And well, this is even more beautiful. Obviously, this is Winslow Homer's painting. It looks incredible. So, but you can kind of see how this pier has some more layers to it. The top of the pier. So this looks like a concrete wall probably. And so let's take this and just make some rectangles. So you can just look at these shapes here as rectangles basically, and we'll just do that. We'll make rectangles. One rectangle here, another rectangle over here that overhangs a little bit over here like this. So it overhangs a little bit from this line here, and then we're going to make another one, and this one is in a little bit like this. It kind of lines up the same as the line here for the side of the pier. So this is a pier alongside the wall, and this pier here, it looks like this top of the pier lines up with the bottom of the pier here. So we'll do this, and we're going to make another rectangle. And you can just see that you can look at this as shapes. Don't try to think of it as anything else but shapes. These are rectangles. You might want to think of rectangles as something that you might be familiar. Oh, this looks like books. This looks like books right up here. It looks like books stacked on top of this pier. So if you can imagine a book, and you're just looking at books, and you're just saying, okay, these are books stacked on top here, and you're looking at the books, and you're saying, okay, and this one over here doesn't go quite all the way to the end over here, and there you have it. Now you have at the top of the pier, you have a pyramid or a triangle. That's easy enough. Go with a really light pencil line first. And then once you have that really light pencil line in there and you think it looks like a really nice triangle, then you just put the darker pencil line in like this. And you have it. Look at that, how good that looks. we're pretty much, wow, we almost have most of the painting, drawing almost completed here. So now we're just going to start to get in some of the darker darks of the foliage here, the bushes and trees along the back of this wall. So behind this wall we're having trees and bushes and plants and poinsettias. So let's do that. Well, you know what? We've actually worked really hard to get this pier and this wall completed as far as our drawing goes. So let's not, I would say, let's not go too much more without taking a quick break, because sometimes you need your concentration, you need a little bit of a break. So please take a break when you need to. You're the artist, you'll know when you need a break. Right now I'm just going to take a quick break. I'll come back and we'll start getting in some of these darker darks. We'll start creating our the back area here where we have some dark darks of these plantings and bushes and foliage, and then we're also going to have, of course, these beautiful poinsettias that we're going to draw in those two as well. And then there might be some, there's some other plants and stuff and leaf forms over here that we're going to get in to this painting. And then of course over here we have some grass and some other darks over here. But this is a real fun painting. It's kind of a composition, right? So that we can work on this composition and kind of learn about setting up our paper, setting up our space divisions in our painting. So again, we said we're working with thirds. The first third is the wall, and then the top 2/3 is the sky and the poinsettias and the bushes. So I'm hoping that you're really going to have a fun time with me here. Enjoy it, have fun with it. It's just a fun exercise. You might want to paint 2 or 3 of these. So maybe you start out with this one. You figure out a few little glitches, and it might not come out perfect. No worries. But then if you painted it another 2 or 3 times, by the second or third time, it's going to look absolutely incredible. So don't ever think about your paintings as, you got to paint one painting and that's the masterpiece, and if it doesn't come out good, well, then you're throwing away your brushes out the window or whatever else. No. You start out, you try out your painting, you get it started, you keep working on it. Always finish your paintings through all the way to the end, even if halfway through it looks kind of terrible or not so good, whatever it is. Trust me, just finish out the painting and rush through it the rest of the way. If you don't like it, just get it done full through. And if you don't like it, no problem. You flip over the paper and you paint on the other side of your watercolor paper. You start another one, or you do something totally different, another painting that you want to do. But always remember, it's just a matter of you're always practicing and working on your compositions and your paintings. And that's all it is, really. So all watercolor artists will tell you that they're just always practicing and getting better and better and better in painting. So you're going to be doing the same thing. Just keep working. You don't like the way it looks, no problem. Again, flip over your paper, draw and paint on the back side of your paper, your watercolor paper, and then grab another sheet of paper and start on another composition or something like that. But don't get frustrated with it. Watercolor is difficult. It's not easy. If anyone tells you watercolor is easy, well, I'm sorry, but that's not true. Watercolor is not easy. It's a challenging medium, but you just keep working at it, and you're going to get it. You're going to learn it, get it, and enjoy it. Okay, so we covered the first part of this painting, which is the wall and the pier right here. You can see that clearly. That's like, we're halfway there. So let's come back in a second. I just want to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll start again working on the darker, foliage and bushes and trees behind this, and also these beautiful orange-red poinsettias, as well as some other beautiful leaf forms over here. Okay? All right, we'll be right back in a second. Okay, so we're getting started again. We just took a quick break. You're the artist. You'll sometimes notice that you might need some breaks once in a while just to take a rest, get your concentration level back up again. It's up to you, though. I know some artists, they can work for hours, and their concentration is absolutely fantastic for 1 or 2 or 3 hours. Some of us, we might need a little more time. I think I need more time. Usually I work about 20 or 30 minutes at most, and then I take a break. But that's fine. Everyone's different. So anyway, let's take a look at this pier that we were and wall, and we'll just notice that let's make some distant ocean here. So I'm going to take the distant ocean and make it right at the top of this part of the pier here. You can kind of see there. And I'll take a ruler and just go across like this, straight across. like that. Okay, so that's going to be our distant ocean. I want to put a little bit of the ocean in behind this scene. So instead of filling everything in solid so that I can't see the ocean, I want to see the ocean in this part of my painting. So I might go a little bit off the game plan here, or we're looking at this part of the painting that I've zoomed in and kind of cropped in on, but you can kind of see how you're as an artist, you're going to have to sometimes think to yourself, you can change things around in your paintings a little bit here and there, or as much as you want or as little as you want, but you do have that you have that artist liberty to change things around in your painting to make it look more positive looking, more pleasing looking. So if I'm zooming in on this part of the painting and I don't see any ocean, well, I want to see ocean in this composition that I'm creating. So I'm going to sort of diminish some of this darks with the bushes and trees behind here, and so that I can see some of the ocean. So let's do that together. Let's acknowledge that we do have the liberty to adjust things a little bit. So I'm going to do that. So here's the ocean line here across that I created, which is right level with the very, very bottom of the triangle that we created for the cap of the pier here on this wall. Alright, so now what I'll do is I will kind of stick with what we see over here. So I'm going to start just doing some plantings and some things like this, but I'll come down and make a steeper slope in the plantings behind here and foliage, so that I can see some of that distant ocean. I hope you'll kind of see where I'm going with this. And then maybe up here we'll go with some more plantings like that. Okay, and then over here we do see some more so I see some flowers and some leaf forms over here. Like this. And there is a bit of a this is part of the, I guess, the gate. So there's a bit of a gate here. So we'll leave that there. It's kind of darks down here, and then it gets a little bit more greens down here. So I'm just kind of getting my pencil drawing in like this. But I still wanted to get that ocean in, and we did accomplish that. So we diminished a little bit of the darks over here to get our ocean in over here. But we still want to have plenty of beautiful poinsettias here. So I'm going to kind of come in here and across. And I'm contour drawing my poinsettias, which means I'm just going in and drawing in the leaf and petals of the poinsettias that I see. Okay, and I'm doing the stems down here. So I'm just looking at this here. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3. We need one more. So I'll kind of count these poinsettias as I'm going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm kind of trying to, be pretty accurate with where everything is as far as these poinsettias that I'm seeing in this drawing. And these are like this 1, 2, right here, 1, 2. This one's kind of here, which is a little bit lower. So again, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 here, 1 here. 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here. Maybe another one over here. So feel free though. Don't feel like you're kind of really have to stick to the exact, what you're seeing, but we're trying to keep it pretty close. And then over here we have a couple over here that are going to be in the dark areas, like this one here, and then this one over here too. Okay, so this one here and here, and then there's another one over here, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. So again, we have lots of information here on our paper. I want to make some of these leaf forms over here kind of come closer over here to the pier, to the top of the pier. So I will make some further leaf forms over here and plantings kind of coming over, touching the top of this pier here, the triangle that we made. So we can kind of see that here, that the top of this pier, there's plants and leaf forms and things like that right along the side of this up here. So I want to have that too. And I think we are good. We have our drawing completed. We're excited now. Once your pencil drawing's done, that's really like the fun kind of place you're at with your watercolor painting, when your pencil drawing's done, you're like, awesome, pencil drawing's done, now we can start painting. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break again. Pencil drawing is quite a bit could be fatiguing a little bit because we're working and concentrating to a high level. And then when that happens and we are concentrating a lot, it will kind of drain our concentration level, so that we need to kind of take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll get started painting. So I'm really excited you're here, and I'm hoping you'll subscribe too to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please subscribe. This way we're working week after week, month after month, and year after year on my channel, constantly painting watercolors, whether it's this type of scene, which is along the ocean, beautiful flowers, kind of a coastal type of scene here, Winslow Homer inspired. We're going to do seascapes, we'll do city scenes, buildings, we'll do flower paintings, we're going to do landscape paintings, we'll do a little portrait painting, figure painting. We kind of do a little bit of everything, flowers again, like still life paintings. We do everything watercolor here. So if you're subscribed on the right hand side below and you just hit that subscribe button, that just means that the next time you go onto YouTube, you won't lose us. You'll know that we are here and we've created another video, because again, we're painting videos, we're creating videos all the time. So we're always painting and drawing in watercolor. I don't want you to miss a thing. So please subscribe. In this way, you won't miss anything that we're doing here, and this will only equal better paintings for you if you are indeed painting in watercolor, drawing and painting in watercolor. Stick with my channel here. I'm going over all the fundamentals of watercolor on a constant basis so that you get the fundamentals down by hearing them, seeing them week after week, month after month, and year after year. Okay? All right, I'm going to come back and we'll start our painting. Toot sweet. Be right back. Alright, so let's get started with the painting portion here, and we're going to kind of, what I will do is, I do have a really nice Da Vinci number 5 travel brush that comes with the Schminke set, by the way. So this Schminke set actually is really versatile. I did customize it. You could check out my videos if you want to see how I customized my Schminke palette. I think you just have to type in Chris Petrie Schminke palette, and you'll see how I customized it with some different pans in there. But the stock one is just fine too if you're going to be, you know, painting with this palette. But it does come with this beautiful, really nice Da Vinci number 5 travel brush, and it's synthetic, and it's got a beautiful point on it. So you can't go wrong with, you get a palette and a beautiful brush like this. And incidentally, all my art supplies, everything I have as far as my art supplies, are down below in the comment section below. And I always tell everybody, I always shop on Amazon because I think it's just great. You don't have to waste any time going out. You know, let's say you need a tube of paint. You really don't want to go out and buy a tube of paint and go searching and go driving around to stores and big box stores and try to find a tube of paint at an art store, when you can just click on Amazon and it's delivered to your house in like 1 or 2 days. Because if you go out, you're going to be fighting traffic, you're going to have wasting gas, mileage on your vehicle, you know, your traffic jams, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of, to me, it makes total sense. I buy mostly 90% of all my art supplies on Amazon. I got all my links down below in the comment section below, so you can kind of see all the stuff that I use. Everything I have listed below is things that art supplies that I've been using for 10, 15, 20 years. They're all fantastic. They perform really well. And, I wouldn't put anything on there that I don't use on a regular basis. So anything you see in my comment section below, those are items that I'm using on a constant basis, and I just stick with them all the time because they do perform really well. And again, I'm not going to change my art supplies until I find something better, and I haven't found anything better than what I have in my comment section below. So you'll see all my art supplies. If you have any questions on that, you'll see it below on all my art supplies and all the things that I do use: papers, paints, brushes, papers, everything. All right, so we're going to get in here and sort of start to work with the painting here. So I'm going to work really using this as my guide. What I'll do is I will take a little bit of a damp brush. So a lot of times I do mention I use fresh clean water all the time. I always change my water in my water bucket out all the time. I empty it out and refresh it all the time. And then I have a tissue in hand at all times, and I check off a little bit of water. Once I rinse my brush off, I take off some of that water so that I don't have too much water in my brush. And then I go in and I start painting. So this is really the paint color selection in this painting that Winslow Homer actually used, was something that he used quite often, which is mostly blues and greens for the predominant colors, and then a bit of reds and oranges for his kind of like accent colors that are really like exciting and pops of color. He's going to use the reds and the oranges, but then the majority of the painting is going to be the blue-greens. So we're going to use that same color scheme that he used. So, but what I want to do is just mention to you that if you want to get some of these really beautiful oranges and reds within those darks, all you have to do is just dampen up the paper around those flower petals, which are the poinsettias. So you dampen the paper around those poinsettias. Over here too. So I'm painting around with damp paper around these 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5 petals of poinsettia flowers. You can even do a few more over here, like this. But you dampen around those areas. Then we come in and we just say, yes, we're doing the blue-green color scheme with just the punches of color of the orange and the red. So we're going to take our blue and green and just French ultramarine blue. That's an automatic with our blues, right? We're going to use the French ultramarine blue, and then we're going to use some cobalt blue, some cerulean blue. So I'm going to start to get out onto my palette all of the colors that I'm going to use. And there's the green, the sap green over here, sap green. And some blue maybe mixed into that green, just so we have our mixtures of colors, blues and greens. That's going to be the predominant maybe some darker blues too as well. You kind of keep some lights, some darks, some variations of your blues and greens, like that. Maybe some, we'll even start working down here a little bit, some olive green down here. And you can kind of see we have our blues and greens for the predominant colors. So let's go right in and start working with those. And again, we did say that we wanted to paint around those red and orangey red flower petals of the poinsettias, like that. Okay. And a little splash or two isn't going to hurt anything. I think that's going to look really good. Okay. And look at how good that looks already. We're starting to get some really good, beautiful darks in here. And we're painting alla prima. Those of you that have painted with me for a long time, or many years now on YouTube, you'll know I paint and I cover this in my book. I have my book down below. There's a great video, 2-minute video below in the comments section. It shows you all the pages in my book. Watercolor Methods for Success has all of the pages in my book, so you can see exactly what's in the book, which is over 65 of my best watercolor paintings in that book, as well as tons of exercises, brushwork exercises, and also key concepts and methods in watercolor. So I want you to pick up my book. Please do it, because you're going to learn so much from that book and be able to utilize so much of that information in that book to take your paintings to another level. So I don't want you to be in the dark with watercolor and the things that you can study and learn about it in my book that will get you great results. Okay? But that's what we're going to talk about. So again, I cover in depth in my book the alla prima method, which is what we're doing right now. We're going in and painting this whole painting all at one time. We're not really glazing or doing light washes and then darker washes over top of light washes. We're just going in right away like Winslow Homer would do. Winslow Homer painted in the alla prima style of painting, which is you're going in and right away you're getting all of your tonal values, your darks, right away to start with. And I'm using my, again, blue-green. And then we're just going to do some beautiful leaf forms here. Flick your brush around like this to kind of get some really nice leaf forms. I think if you take your brush and do this, like this, you're going to get better results than if you were trying to really painstakingly trying to capture what a leaf looks like or anything like that, because nature will always win. And then we're going to do some darker darks, which is French ultramarine blue with a little bit of burnt umber, like that, and we'll do that. And then we'll take a little more blue, do a couple of splashes, and then we'll start to, and we see how we preserved these few bits of light by painting around with damp, clean water. So we took clean water, painted around these little leaf forms that we did draw in when we started. Remember that? We drew in the small leaf forms in here, and we kind of made a note of that. And then when we started painting, we said, yes, we're going to take some damp paper, a damp brush, clean water, and a damp brush. So clean water in your damp brush, and we're going to paint around those leaf forms like that. And then when we're kind of when this dries, we'll go in and we'll put those beautiful orangey reds in there. So I'm hoping that I've helped you to kind of see that that's one of the real kind of critical things of this painting, is to get that beautiful orangey red, exciting color within these dark darks in here, the green, blue, blue greens. And then I'm also going to I'll let this dry. I'm not going to try to paint the ocean in. We'll paint the ocean in later, or in a little while. And we're going to come over here too. Maybe over here we're going to have some burnt umber to tone it down a little bit, and we'll have some blues and greens over here. Like this. So we're coming over here. A couple of splashes over here. And then what else do we have? A little bit of the red orange. Let's get that red orange maybe started over here. Red orange. And we'll use a little bit of the red orange, but we'll gray it down a little bit, like over here. So you see how we're kind of making it a little bit duller by using some of that green and blue. Because over here it's kind of subtle. It's not too much bright colors or anything like that. So we're just doing that. And you know what we're going to do? Is we're going to carefully realize that Winslow Homer painted his sky in probably about now and didn't do this much work over here until he got his sky in. So I might have got ahead a little bit here. I might have kind of gone a little bit too fast and got ahead of myself, but that's okay. We're going to not worry about it and moan and groan and be like, you know, we're not going to get frustrated over doing something that we might have made a misstep or a miscue here. No problem. Okay, so we realized that probably Winslow Homer did some of these darks first here. I'm pretty sure he did all of this first, these dark darks. Then he went in and did his sky wash. And then after that he went in and did some of these darker washes here. And then he did his reds last. His really powerful, exciting red-orange poinsettias last. So again, I'm not going to worry about it. I might have gone a little bit too quickly, but no worries. We'll kind of see how we can keep ourselves on track here by just taking a break right now really quick, and we'll come back and we'll start working in the sky wash next. Okay? All right, we're having a fun time here. I'm glad you're here with me painting, and I'm hoping you're having a good time. We're just taking our time here. Take your time as you're working through this, please. Please do it. Take as many breaks as you need. Stop the tape, get it started. Stop the tape, get it started. Take pauses in between. If I take breaks, you might need to take more breaks or less breaks between the time that I'm taking mine, but feel free to do it any way you want it. You're the artist. You're going to figure out what works best for you. But we're already in a really good place. We're doing the alla prima method, which is the darks first, and we're painting all at one time. We're not doing any kind of glazings or anything like that. We're just starting out, getting the darks in first as we're going, and then we notice that, yes, we're going to need, now that we have our darks, we're going to need those lighter washes now in the sky, here, and also in the wall. We're going to put some shadows in this wall and some color washes in this wall a little bit here, as you can see. That would be the next step to actually work on, and then after that we do our last step, which is the beautiful, exciting red-orange poinsettias. It's going to be fun. This is kind of like a flower painting, really, when you think of it, but we do have some exciting ocean. We're going to put some ocean in the background here, and we'll keep going here and having fun as we go. All right, so we'll be right back. All right, so now we are actually really we've actually set ourselves up for success here. We actually have the darks in, which are really looking good here. We're going to actually work on the sky right now, so I'll go with a larger brush. So I'm going to take my Charles Reed, this is a number 8 Escoda travel brush, Charles Reed series. I usually buy the Charles Reed series because it comes in 3 brushes, And after about maybe, I don't know, actually my brushes have lasted me a long time. My Escoda brushes, my travel brushes have lasted me a long time. So these are great quality brushes you can trust in. And so we're going to do this. We're going to actually start to get some of the sky wash in up here. So I'll put some fresh clean water up in the sky right now like this. Fresh crystal clear water that I've changed out in my water bucket, so I have nice fresh clean water like that. And I will also come down too with my fresh clean water and sort of just take that fresh clean water and get it here, even into the flower areas. I think that's fine. But mostly the wetter your paper is up here is better. So if you can add a little more water up here, dampen up your paper a little bit more up top here, like this, and just a little bit of a light dampness down here. This will just give you a little more flexibility on having a beautiful wash like this up here. And I'll take some French ultramarine blue like this. Like this. And you don't have to do too much work with this, okay? Please understand that with watercolor, the water does the work for you. So just, wet the paper a little bit here on this particular painting we're doing. Wet the paper, dampen it up in the sky, and then just put in some wash, some bluish green wash, and that's fine. And then maybe you'll add a little bit of that orangey red here just in the bottom of your painting. Because usually you'll always see a little bit of an orangey red glow at the bottom of your sky, where your sky meets your ocean or your land. Okay, so that's all we wanted to do. And that is it. You see how quick that went and how beautiful that looks? And you can add a little more. You have a little bit of time to work with your wash up here, but once you get that wash on here on the top of your painting where your sky is, you can only work so long, only maybe a minute or two, and that's it. You can't keep going back in and adding more washes to it. Basically, you can get in your first wash, and then you can infuse in a little bit of more dark. Let's say like you want to add a little bit of darker wash up top to your painting up top. That's fine. You can do that quickly, but only for a few minutes. That's the only time you really have to work, because once the paint starts to dry on your paper, you really can't add more actual washes, because that'll start to create blossoms and cauliflowers and blooms, as they call them, which will make weird and odd looking marks on your watercolor paper, which won't look so good. So we always kind of try to remember that. And then you also too have a flexibility of adding some clouds or some soft looking cloud shapes by just taking some tissue. Simple. Take some tissue and you can actually blot a little bit of tissue like this. Spin your tissue a little bit like this, like that, and you can add some more texture to your colors and your sky. That's an option you have, and it really works well if you just take a little bit, but you wouldn't want to do too much. A couple little, you roll up your tissue in a little bit of a ball, do a couple little touches and dabs and a couple twists, and then you have some clouds that you've created right into your sky wash. And that is it. And we actually are looking we're looking fantastic here. What I will do next is We'll take some French ultramarine blue here, like this, and we'll make this distant shoreline, the ocean here. And we'll take a little more straight French ultramarine blue, like that. And we'll soften it up over here on this side, like that. Okay. Then maybe a little bit of a wow. We're gonna go in and get some Viridian green. Look at that. Oh, isn't that good? That's like that beautiful turquoisey green. You can add some turquoise green here, like that, for your water, the distant water. And if you add some of that turquoise green, well then I might just add it a few spots here and there. I'm going to quickly go in there with it there, over here. So I'll add some Viridian, like this, here and there, just a little bit. Okay, and then let's get in some of that shadow color on the wall here. So now I'm just taking a little bit of the colors that we've already used, the blues and the greens, a little touch of the orange and red to get us a kind of grayish color for our wall here. And since it's like a stucco wall, we're going to take some splashes like this. Okay. So I do some splashing to give it that stucco kind of feel to the wall. Like that. Then we have some blue and green that we do have over here. That's kind of like a shadow. You can kind of see that shadow we're going to do here. We'll make a little bit of that grayish color with the orange and red and the blue and the green. Like that. A shadow under there. Shadow there. You can kind of see I'm just using this as my guide. A shadow here. And then some really dark blue, which is French ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna. And there's a dark shadow under here, under these capstones on top of the pier. And then we have some more blue over here, shadowing. A little bit darker over here, a little bit of blue. Alright, well, we're finishing up now with our painting, and we just took a quick break. Again, we did notice that one of the fun parts about this painting is we're using a color scheme that's really, Winslow Homer, he was a, incredible painter in history. I often go back to his paintings to kind of look for ideas and try to help, make my paintings look better. So I'm always trying to look for inspiration and look for ideas with my artwork. But I noticed that he does use a lot of this blue-green with the red complementary color, the red-orange. So we did the same thing, and you can even see in the palette here, if I spritz the palette a little bit with some water, you can kind of see that it's the blue, greens, and then the orange and red here. So just a tiny bit of orange and red, and mostly blue and greens, that make this color scheme, so beautiful. And this is what a lot of the great masters of old used for their paintings. And so we're going to kind of follow in their footsteps. And for this final portion here, let's just start going in and getting our orange red. And we'll get our poinsettia orange red. Beautiful colors there. Look at that. Wow, that just pops. Isn't that great? So we'll just continue with that idea of getting these red orange, cadmium red, cadmium orange. And we're just going to get those colors onto our canvas, onto our paper here. And since we sketched in these flowers, we actually, contoured, we drew in these beautiful poinsettia flowers to start with. Now, as we're painting and completing this painting, it's more, we're kind of like on, on a good path here, because we already have things drawn in, so we can just kind of paint in the shapes that we had in our contour drawing right into the, like that. So we were set up for having an easier time in the beginning of our painting when we drew in our flowers here. And then I think what we'll do is we're going to use even a finer point brush. This is the I use my Alvaro Castanet number 8 needlepoint brush. You can find this on Alvaro Castanet's website, alvarocastanet.net, for the needlepoint brushes. I haven't found any needlepoint brushes that work and handle this beautifully than these here. I use mostly the number 8 and the number 10 needlepoint brushes, but I like to mention that because a lot of you tend to mention in the comment section where I get the needlepoint brushes, but those are right on Alvaro Castanet's site. And I've been following Alvaro's work for many years. I think he was my first watercolor artist that really got me jazzed about watercolors, so I tend to use his paint brushes because he's got great mop brushes too for really beautiful, if you want to paint really incredibly, if you want to use tons of water in your watercolor paintings, the mop brushes work incredible. I have many of those by Alvaro. He's got tons of mop brushes, so I think he has them custom made. His brushes that he sells on his website, they're phenomenal brushes, and I've had my needlepoint brushes. They last me a long time. I've never had to replace them. So over 10 or 15 years, my brushes last me. I haven't had to change them actually. So it's a great way to get some beautiful, really sharp details like this, and you can spin around this way and do some really sharp, nice details like this. And then we'll do a few more details like this here. So I just use some burnt umber and maybe some blue and green. And we'll do the same thing over here. We'll just get some fine stems for our leaf forms over here. And you can kind of see how good that looks. And then I'll come over here and do a couple more quick more. And we are having so much fun here. Isn't this great? Oh my gosh. You know, you can't believe it how much fun we're having with this painting. It's really, once you get these orange reds into the painting after we're using all those blues and greens, you just see how, wow, it's just so exciting to see these orange and red colors like really just brighten up the whole painting and make it look so exciting. And that's why Winslow Homer painted this way, because he knew, and we can even come over here too. Let's get a little bit of, just a tiny bit of some of those red and oranges over here too, maybe just a few. The more exciting part is over here, but you can still add a few orange and reds over here too. Just like this. But that is really the whole painting right now. The whole enchilada is completed. We have everything in. You know, maybe if you wanted to, you could add some blue-green to some of the, splash in a little bit of blue-green over here for some more leaf forms, maybe, like this. Even tap on a little bit with the finger tapping. Finger, you know, using your finger, you can tap on a little bit of paint. Kind of adds a nice bit of light feel to the application of your paint. But I think that's really looking fantastic so far. And actually, this is actually the completed painting. I'm trying to think of anything else we could do. Well, there might be a little bit of, I see some darker shapes over here. Some shadows, actually. That look pretty good. So we'll add those in. And again, some more splashes. Maybe a couple splashes up here in the sky. Lightly, just so that it kind of blends. The whole painting has a couple of splashes here and there. If your splashes don't come out really well, you can always blot them up quick with your tissue. Always remember that. But we have a completed painting, and what we'll do now is we'll actually peel off the tape and see how it looks. So we'll slide our phone over, and we'll just see how it looks when we peel off our tape here. Okay. Blue and green, a little bit of orange, kind of a grayish color. This is a little bit darker here. Okay, and then we have a little bit of shadowing on the top of the stone here. And then over here, let's have some green, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber. We're going to have a little bit of that dark. So we're just we're going to do that. We're just going to take some really dark darks, some French ultramarine blue up here under there. Like that. And then some green. And a little bit of yellow too, cadmium yellow lemon and sap green. Like that. No need to get too fancy. Dark, burnt umber and French ultramarine blue. burnt umber. Okay. So now you can see how we've really got the majority of the darks completed now. And that's really what we wanted to accomplish when we start out with the alla prima method is let's get our darks in first. We'll do a little bit of splashing for some more, again, stucco effects on our wall. Just like that, and that's enough that we kind of have that stucco effect on the walls here. These beautiful white stucco walls. We've got our dark greens here. And now all we're going to do is finish up with our orangey red poinsettias flower shapes. And then maybe a little bit of the stems, obviously. We're going to do the stems to the poinsettias. And over here we'll do a little more work too with our we have some more kind of like leaf forms and flower shapes over here too. So we're going to try to get some of those in. We could use like the blue-green. Blue-green is really our that's the majority of the colors in our painting is blue-green, right? We talked about that in the beginning of the painting, in the beginning of the video. Blue-green is our predominant color scheme. Blue-green. You know, tons of blue-green in the sky. Blue-green all through here within our darks. And blue-green with a touch of some orange and red just for our grays to come up with some of our gray colors here in the wall. But now when we do our complementary color, which is going to be the orange-red of the poinsettia flowers. So we're going to do that next. I'm glad you're sticking with me here right to the end of the video. Now we're going to have the fun. We're going to put in those real beautiful pops of color that are really just going to sparkle and shine within this painting. So let's come back in a second or two. I'm just going to take a quick break, let this dry a little bit. You could use a blow dryer if you want to first to dry things off, but I'll let it dry naturally and take about 10 or 15 minutes of a break, and we'll come back and we'll finish up with our beautiful complementary color now. Blue-green is the predominant color with the complementary color of the orange-red. Okay, we'll be right back. And there we go. When you use some of that tape to tape around the border of your watercolor paper, it's so effective. I hope you'll do that. Have you been doing that? Have you been putting your tape onto your paper before you paint? Because look how good that looks. Once you put that border around that, it almost acts like a frame. So it's almost like your painting is framed now. Looks so much better that way. Alright, so we had a lot of fun. I think the only thing I could do right now is find my white paint. I just noticed I need a little bit of a highlight in one area in particular. Let's see if I can find that brush I was looking for right now. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so I have some titanium white. I take a little bit of the yellow ochre and put that in the top of the titanium white, so you have a little bit of a yellow gold color in your white paint. So you don't want to make it stark white. You add a little bit of gold to your titanium white, and then I just noticed that I needed the highlight here across this way here on that stone right there, like that. And then I'll take a little bit of and that's it. I just wanted to add that little bit of highlight across that stone right here, which are kind of like the capstones on top of this pier. And then one more thing I thought we could do too as well is to this painting that I think would really add a little bit of excitement to it, is to, first off, I would take a little bit of paper towel and just clean off a little section here in my palette, just like this. And I would take a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow, like this. That to me is like a really great sunlight color. And if you add a little bit of that sunlight color, maybe, in a few areas of your painting. So I'm just going to blend in a little bit of that cadmium lemon yellow here and there. Let's put a little bit over here. I take my brush, dampen it up with some water, and just blend in a little bit of that, again, cadmium lemon yellow. It sort of does add a little bit of that feeling of sunlight, of warmth, of really nice warmth to the painting. So I add a little bit there too. But not too much, just we put it in there in a few spots, and that's it. A little bit up in the sky too. And then I dampen up the brush with fresh clean water and just kind of blend it in up there in the sky too. It's kind of nice to have it up there too, so it kind of blends and harmonizes. So if you're going to put a little bit of yellow in your painting, probably it's really a great way to just keep practicing that principle of if you're going to add in a color toward the end of your painting, you'll want to make sure you add it throughout your whole painting, and just a little bit of a touch here and there so that it doesn't look out of place. So if your eye sees a little bit of that lemon yellow here, 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 it looks much better. If you were just to add a little bit of lemon yellow here, cadmium lemon yellow here and here, and nowhere else, that would look a little bit odd. It would look out of place. But if you add that cadmium lemon yellow in just a few spots here and there, maybe over here and over here too, you can kind of just strategically add it in a few places. It'll really harmonize with the rest of your colors on your color scheme for your painting. All right, we've had a great time. I'm so glad you joined me here on this video. We're having fun here, creating a beautiful painting along the ocean, a beautiful poinsettia flowers along the ocean, and this is like a partition wall along a property along the ocean, so we have a kind of a feeling of being at the ocean and just wonderful summertime kind of vibes. So glad you're here, glad you're joining along. I hope you'll really I'm hoping you're going to subscribe on the right hand side below so you don't miss a thing, because we have lots more paintings coming up, and we're working again every week. We're creating 1 or 2 paintings, or sometimes 3. We're doing work on all kinds of different information, different subject matter. So we'll do some paintings like this along the ocean. We'll do some beautiful paintings along the countryside, barns and landscapes. We're going to do some gorgeous beach scenes, as well as some flower paintings. We'll do flower paintings, a little bit of portrait work, a little bit of figure work here and there mixed in. But we do everything watercolor. We mix up the subject matter so you get a little bit of practice on everything, get your skills up to speed, and before you know it, you're going to be really happy with your results in watercolor as you join along every week as we work. Okay, and we're working week after week, month after month, and year after year here on my channel. So don't miss out. Subscribe if you can. There's nothing to subscribing other than it's just going to let you know we've made a new video each week. You'll see the video come up in your YouTube channel. So that's it. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Okay, bye-bye.